Have you ever been in a valley of your own making? Oh, boy, I have. It's not so much fun. However, there can be some positive there. And I would say, first of all, every mom is going to be in that valley sometimes. None of us are perfect. But the good news is that the soil in the valley is very fertile, and that is where great growth happens. So I want to encourage you today, if you have experienced a valley time, there's lots of great growth there. Today we're going to talk about some growth I've experienced that became visionary parenting that I get to talk to you about today, and the difference it's made in my kids' relationships with me and in my kids' decisions in life, because the way I was communicating with them, the messages I was sending them, affected their perception of themselves, which has everything to do with the decisions they make for their life. So this is going to be an exciting episode, number 87, Visionary Parenting. You're joining Val Harrison today, and you're listening to the Practically Speaking Mom podcast, the place for an intentional mom to build a strong family. Let's get started with more intentional right now. Hey mamas, so before we dive into today's topic on visionary parenting, I want to share with you a new favorite drink that I have found. It's from Trader Joe's. I don't know if you have that in your area or not. Love Trader Joe's. It's called Organic Sparkling Lemon and Strawberry Apple Cider Vinegar. It's so good. It's got 9 grams of carb and no sugar in it. And it was a delicious pick-me-up today before I worked out at the gym. I'd had a really busy morning. It was field day for one of our co-ops that we're in, and I loved it all, but it was a busy morning, and then I was going straight to the gym, and I needed a little something. So I grabbed this to try. Oh my goodness, it was like going to be the new thing that I keep on hand as a special treat every once in a while, because it was delish. So I wanted to tell you about that. Okay. Now, I hope you've been enjoying a theme that we did the last 2 weeks called Lasso Your Life. In episode 85, we did Lasso Your Life regarding a to-do list. And what do I mean by Lasso Your Life is the responsibilities of our life like to take us over and make us feel like they're controlling us. And we need to take back control so that we're not feeling overwhelmed and we have more peace and we're able to make decisions based on our priorities instead of based on all of these out of control urgent things. So in episode 85, it was about your to-do list. In 86, it was about Lasso Your Life regarding mail and papers. So you just keep watching for that theme. Every now and then, I'm going to throw in a Lasso Your Life episode where we look at a different aspect of the mom life and how you can really take better control over that area, get more organized. So I hope you had fun with that. But also, we've been looking at the different hats that moms wear based on my book, Wearing All Your Hats Without Wearing Out. We're ready for the third hat. So last 2 weeks, when we were looking at these responsibilities, we were looking at the hat of manager of the monkeys, and the monkeys are all these pesky things that are always hanging on us, trying to distract us from what really matters. So now we're transitioning to focusing on the things that really matter. And today is one of them, which is the hat of being a visionary parent. So I learned this lesson about visionary parenting the hard way. Found myself in a valley time where I was recognizing that there were some breaks in my relationship with some of my kids. And as I was evaluating that and praying about it, and God was showing me stuff, here's what he really revealed. I was sending messages I didn't intend to be sending to my kids, and they were not good messages. They were messages that showed I had a lack of belief in their future and a lack of belief in them because I was concerned about who they were going to become based on their behavior today. Also, really 3 aspects. Let me just boil it down to this real quick. And that is visionary parenting, paying attention to the words I say and the tone I use in my voice, the tone of voice, and the look in my eye. Those 3 things can really send a message of either, Oh man, I am so in love with you and I believe in you so much. Who God designed you to be and become is awesome. And I'm excited to discover all of those unique characteristics, all of those strengths that might be hidden by things that appear to be weaknesses. I am excited and I am motivated to be your biggest discovery cheerleader in all of the world. That's the message I want to be sending to my kids. Now, the message that too often I would send before, I'm better at it now. I'm still working on it. And I'm sure I always will be, because we never are going to be perfect, but we can keep growing, right? And in fact, by the way, when we make mistakes with our kids and we apologize and they see us improve and grow and strive towards doing better for their sake, not only does that set a great example for them in also living that kind of lifestyle in themselves, but also it lets them see you sacrificially love them. To love someone enough to change, get rid of some bad habits you have for their sake, wow, that sends a message of love. So moms, when you have something that is not so great in you, I want you to try to not be discouraged about that. There is hope there. In fact, there is some good messages that can come from that growth, just that says, Mom apologizes when she messes up. She intentionally gets a plan of action to grow in herself, and she's doing it all because she loves me so much. Okay, so this is what was going on in my life. I needed to grow and change, and so apologizing to my kids in different ways, which actually you can learn a lot about that from my book, Clash in Your Home, getting a game plan for cleaning up the conflict. So God showed me some different things about me that needed to change. And I began writing all of this down as I was seeing the changes that I'd make and how it would positively impact my kids, their perception of themselves because someone believed in them so well. And my relationships with my kids was growing from it. So I'm writing down, I'm recording the changes that I'm making and what is working. And from that was born this book, Wearing All Your Hats Without Wearing Out, the section on visionary parenting, which in that I talk about that Cinderella from the Disney 2015 movie. It starts out with Cinderella's mom on her deathbed, and she speaks 5 words into her daughter's life: have courage and be kind. Now that's not, blow you away amazing because it's an instruction, but the way that she said it and the look in her eye said, Cinderella, I know you can do this. I know no matter what is thrown at you in life, I know that you can have courage and be kind. You've got this. I believe in you. Keep going. Remember my words. These are my words of love and belief in you, Cinderella. And so then you watch in this movie, this particular movie is the one you want to watch because they're not all like this. But in this one, even in the end, once she has married the prince and she holds all of the cards, all of the power, she could banish her stepmom and stepsisters angrily to a terrible future. She chose to still in that moment deal with them kindly, firmly, with a backbone, with confidence. It doesn't mean that we allow someone to mistreat us when we be kind. That's not what she did at that point. But she handled herself measured and kind to the very end. And it was a beautiful example of what a visionary message from a mom can do in the life of a child. It affects their self-perception. When you send the message with the way that you speak to your child, I am so excited about discovering more and more of who God designed you to be. And man, when I think of your future, I'm just so excited. When we are able to communicate that to our kids, it helps them to have a different perception of themselves than when we communicate, oh, why do you always keep failing in this way? Why do you always do this? Now, let me give you an example. The other day, one of my daughters, she was sort of like the Easter bunny goes around and lays out, little Easter eggs everywhere. She was kind of like that, only she was depositing clutter everywhere she was going, like her shoes are over here and this art project she's doing is all spread out over here from 2 days ago. And she deposited her blanket that she loves to cozy up with in the evening. She left it out over there and, just her stuff was everywhere. And I could approach that by saying, why do you always leave your stuff everywhere? This is driving me crazy. Or I can communicate, when you pick up after yourself, what a blessing that is to every family member that lives here. When you clean up after you, it says you care about us, you care about our home. And I love it when you do that. And at this moment, that needs to improve, because here's our standard. We pick up after ourselves. So when we get up from a project, we say, how can I make this spot better than I found it or as good as I found it? Like, what's the standard of our home here in this spot? And I'm going to do that. I know it's going to bless mom, but it's going to bless the rest of the family too. So that is giving her a vision of who she can be. She can live by the standard without me destroying who she is at this moment. So we have to believe in them not just for their current behavior, but who they are going to rise to become as well. Now, first, God started helping me see that my relationships with my kids was improving and their perception of themselves was improving as I began to change the message I was sending with my words and my tone and my eyes, and thus became the chapter of visionary parenting. But also some other things came from that. Root parenting was another aspect of this that God showed me, was that I was so focused on their outward behavior at the moment and wanting to fix that, instead of digging below the surface and identifying what's going on in their heart and in their mind that's causing that behavior. And that's where I need to go. And that's where I need to work with them at that level. And unfortunately, what I would find sometimes when I would do that root parenting of digging below the surface and asking them questions and helping us together figure out what's going on that might cause them to behave that way. Unfortunately, too often I was finding that I played a role in what was going on at the roots, whether I had maybe given them a perception that I'm never pleased with them. They can never be good enough to bring my seal of approval. Or maybe it was frustration because I had such an attitude of, I'm always right and my way's the best way, instead of saying, hey, here's a problem that we've got going on. What do you think would be a good way for you to solve this problem or for you to work on this? And, really partnering with them in their growth and improvement. So as I did some root parenting, I identified some of that as me, and it was part of the messages I was sending poorly. And then all of that discovery led me to answering the 6 questions of your child's heart, which I touch on a little bit throughout all the podcasts. With one of those questions that every child's heart is asking is, do you believe in me? Do you really believe in me? Do you believe I have what it takes for this world? Do you believe that I matter? Do you believe that I bring good to the world, or am I a problem for the world, for those around me? And do I bring the world down by my presence? Do you believe in me? And that's a large part of what we're answering when we learn to have visionary parenting. See, it's us having a vision in our mind that they were created with unique, special, one-of-a-kind attributes and messages and blessings that the world needs and the world can only get through this child. And so as I changed my perception of them, then it began also coming out in the messages I would send them of helping them have a better vision of themselves. A high standard, yes. absolutely a high standard with them. That is one thing I really, really don't regret in how I've parented through the years is I maintained a high standard with them. Let me back up and give you a few things that would be some negative sounds from your mouth, tones, or words that would come from your mouth that would negatively affect the vision you have or the vision you're giving them of themselves. Sarcasm, condescending answers, negative jokes, like, oh, what a fool, or those words, even though you say, well, I'm just kidding when I say that to them. Well, I don't care. Those words can stick. They can stick in there and go, maybe I really am stupid, or maybe I really am ugly or unwanted, or, can't make friends or whatever. Don't negative joke with your kids. Don't make those kind of statements, even just for fun or kidding around. Now, here's another example of being a visionary to our kids. Let's say it's Wednesday morning and 8-year-old Emma's laundry day. She brings down her laundry and I stand with her in the laundry room while she sorts items into categories as we talk about laundry do's and don'ts. I notice that she had put a dress into her dirty clothes that wasn't actually dirty. Would you believe this is a positive opportunity? It actually can be. You see, this is a great chance to help her develop her character and learn more about God's design for her life, even to let her know that God fashioned her with his careful, intentional design because she is so highly valued by him, and that her actions should match that intentional care. After asking her some questions, we figured out together that she had done what was easy instead of what was best. Now, I want to convey with my words, my facial expressions, the look in my eye, the tone of my voice, that I believe she was meticulously created by God with all the treasured details that make up our dear little Emma. And likewise, her work and her creations and her actions should be a reflection of that same caliber. Now, because I'm mom and I wear the hat of visionary, I want to give her a vision of herself as one who lives by the standard, I do what is best, not what is easy. So I can give her some examples in scripture of how God blessed the person who did the best thing instead of the easy thing. I can point out sometimes that I remember when I did the easy thing and the negative that happened, and when I chose the hard but best thing and the good that would result. Or I could remember when she or someone we know did the best thing, even though it was hard. And we can pray together and ask God to help both of us be strong enough to choose the best over the easy. Now, to do all of this with my daughter takes a lot of extra time right now, but it has long-term growth benefits for her life development, and it wasn't as destructive to our relationship as scolding her would have been. Now, just because I give some positive vision casting for her, it doesn't mean that there won't be consequences. There's lots of times I still have to give some consequences, like maybe I'm going to have her iron the dress or, something like that, something extra that helps her understand that there's negative results when we make negative choices. But my focus is going to be on who she was designed to be and what she's moving towards for blessing others, for blessing her own life. These are the things that I want to focus on. So mom, learn from my mistakes that a sarcastic tone from the parent hurts relationship and diminishes the character development opportunity for your child. Show compassion in your consequence. For example, you could say, I remember when I was a kid and instead of sweeping the floor, okay, this is really truly something that happened with me, that instead of sweeping the floor the way I knew I was supposed to, I swept all the dirt under the rug. Well, I got in big trouble with my mom for doing that. So I know it's no fun to be in trouble, and I just hate that I'm having to give you a consequence right now. But I know that it wouldn't be right of me as mom to let this go undone, because it is my role to help you become who you were created to become. And I want great things for your life. And I know whether you're going to grow up someday and be an owner of a store, and I want everybody to come to that store because of how great you run it, or whether you're going to be an employee of a company and you do so great that you keep getting promotions, or whether you are a mama who keeps your house in a good enough order that you're free to enjoy lots of other things because you got your house under control. So you're not all stressed out looking for that shoe to match that, or that outfit you wanted to wear is all wrinkled up in the corner instead of hanging up. You got your life under control because you have chosen to do the hard but best things in your habits. And those habits bring about lots of blessing in your life. So I know this is unpleasant to give consequence, but it will result in a lot more fuller and abundant life than if I just don't hold you to any standards at all. Now, we look to the Heavenly Father as a visionary to all of us. He tells us who we were made to be in Jeremiah 1:5. You can look that up. He tells us he adores us in Jeremiah 31:3 and in Psalm 17:8. He tells us we were not made for weakness and sin in Romans 6:2. God is the great blessing giver. He is our vision caster for a life of abundance. And just as God tells us that he loves us unconditionally beyond measure, we want to make sure that the messages we're sending, even if unintentional, also show that I love you unconditionally beyond measure. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into the concept of visionary parenting and vision casting for our kids. If you want more about that, you can find it in my book, Wearing All Your Hats Without Wearing Out, Finding Focus for Your Family to Be the Masterpiece God Intended. And all of my books and other resources are available on my website, practicallyspeakingmom.com.
Hi, I'm Abby, one of Val's daughters. I hope you enjoyed episode 87 on visionary parenting. I thought I'd pop in, say hi and tell you about next week's podcast. I'll be joining Mom to do some listener Q&A. That's right! Mom will be answering your questions. Until then, we hope you'll subscribe to the podcast, share it with some of your friends, and visit our online home at practicallyspeakingmom.com, where you'll find the Practically Speaking Moms podcast, blog, books, and other resources. We'll see you next week!